Hello everyone, today we're going to draw a picture of a character from a book that we're reading in Year 4 called Charlie, from the book Charlie Turns Into a Chicken. So I'm going to show you how to draw him as a boy, and then you can adapt it to make him turn into a chicken, or there is another book where he turns into a T-Rex. There is one where, there's a part in the story where he turns into a spider, so you can draw Charlie turning into different things, and I'll show you a couple of examples after this. But first I'm just going to show you how to draw Charlie just as a boy. So we're going to start with the head up here, and he's got some quite amazing hair, so we're going to try and add that in too, okay? But the way we start with the head, he's got a very round head. We're going to draw sort of a big U shape at the bottom here, okay? So, we'll start around here. We're going to, remember, we do it light until we get it right. Draw a nice sort of wide U shape. Not quite flat on the bottom, not quite going up straight either. It sort of sticks out on both sides. Just a bit like that, okay? Charlie has got some huge round ears, so we can add those on straight away. Actually, we're going to add on a round ear like this, and then to finish Charlie's ear, you draw, you follow this line from here, you draw a curve going round and down just like that, and just tuck it in just a tiny bit, not all the way, just a teeny bit in. Okay, just check that. Yeah. Okay, so then we're going to do same thing on the other side, but reverse. So we're going to go round, draw a nice big rounded ears like this, nice C shape like that, and that's Charlie's ears. Now Charlie's, obviously he's a character, he's not real, so his proportions are a little bit off to how they would be in the real world. So he's got two big round eyes, and they are slightly above his ears, so we can do that now. We can do one big round eye like that, and one big round eye like that. Okay, nice and round eyes like this. Okay, and his nose, he's got a very, very, very small nose, and it's actually sort of in the shape of a number 2. It goes around this way and then comes flat on the bottom for the point of his nose. He's got a curved nose going that way, and then the bottom of his nose comes across like this, so we can add that in. So round like a 2, and then a curve at the bottom, and it's very, very small. I might have even done that a little bit too big there, but that doesn't really matter because he's a character, so we can do what we want. He's got a small mouth as well, and his mouth's kind of like a kidney bean shape. So it's sort of like, or like a jelly bean, you could say jelly bean I suppose if you wanted to. Comes around like this, and then that jelly bean shape just like this. Okay, and we're going to colour that in dark later, so we can just leave it like that for now. Now, Charlie's hair. Charlie has got some fantastic hair. We'll draw his fringe first, and then we'll add the outside of his hair after. So we're going to draw a very sort of rough line going round the top of his head, and then his fringe comes down in small parts like this. Okay, and then it does it's where it's arched there, it matches that arch on this side, but the lines keep going that way, and it just joins up on that side here. Okay, and that's Charlie's fringe, nice and easy. Now we're going to draw his massive hair. So his hair comes out this side in sort of a big wedge, then it kind of looks like there's a bird on his head with his wings sticking out. Got some spikes up here, big curly bit up here, some spikes coming out here, and then it curls into his ear this way. So we start just above the ear, we're going to come out, and we're going to stop just outside of his head there. We're going to do some wiggly lines coming down here. There's Charlie's hair, and you'll see what I mean by the bird shape. So his hair curls up to a sort of point here, curls up like that. Okay, and then it comes just up a tiny bit, a couple of little spikes on the top, and then it curls out this way, has a couple of spikes on the top, and then some slightly bigger spikes which are going to come off the top of our page and curl around this way. Okay, now we're going to add this nice quiffy curl that he's got. So his hair's so huge, it's ridiculous actually, his hair, isn't it? And we're going to add a nice big curly quiff coming this way. It looks a bit like a C shape, and it makes it look a bit like a wave, I think. And get that nice sort of crescent-y C shape in there. And then we can come out and add 2 spikes on this side. And then we're going to add one more big spike on this side. And then we're going to come in, but we're not going to come straight in, we're going to do 2 curves. We're going to curve to a point, like that. And then we're going to do one more slight curve just into above his ear. And that is Charlie's insane hair. Now it looks a bit creepy because he's got no eyeballs at the minute, so he's got no pupils, so we can add his pupils in just so it looks a little bit less weird. And we can add them just slightly inside of the centre of the circle, and we can add some tiny slanted up eyebrows in there too. Okay, then we can sort of thicken out this line. Now we've got this shape, we can thicken out this line a little bit and give Charlie his face. Okay, he's got a very, very skinny neck, so skinny neck just comes down 2 lines just like that. And Charlie wears a blue sweater that has a bit of a roll neck on it. So the way we do a roll neck is we draw a curve that sticks out either side of that line. It's very, very small, quite hard to see, but it sticks out just either side of his neck, just a little bit there. Okay, then we go just above that, we draw a curve going down on both sides, just a small curve going down, and then we're going to go straight down and straight down on either side, and we're going to join that up in a big curve there. So what we've done is we've made a tube around his neck, and we can add some small straight lines going down for details, to show that he's got sort of ridges on his collar. Okay, so we do a little part of his shoulder here, and then his coat comes on top of his jumper. Okay, so we do a small line like this, and then we have to do the front of his coat. So his coat comes down, it curves in a little bit just like that, and then we're going to stop just there. Right, and his coat has got some red lining, so we're going to add the red lining on. So you do a tiny little bump, and you curve, just copy that line straight down here, and stop just at the bottom there. Okay, we can carry on his shoulder going downwards a little bit, going out just about a little bit further than his ear is over here, just a teeny tiny bit further than his ear. Okay, and you see I'm not really doing it very detailed, I'm doing it quite rough because it's quite a sort of sketchy kind of drawing. And then we're going to add his shoulder of his coat. Charlie's coat's a little bit sort of, doesn't fit him very well, so it's kind of rippled and ruffled everywhere. So we can add a little bump where his arm goes, like that. And we're going to have his arm coming down this way. And his arm's going to go just a little bit past his, the lining of his coat. So it comes down just like that and curve in a tiny bit. And then it's going to curve around this way and go back up towards this, but it's not going to quite meet that. Okay, it's going to go just away from that, just like that. So that's his coat. It's a bit too big for him, but whatever. We can add the bottom of his coat in here, and that goes behind his arm. And then he's got these big fat pockets that stick out. This one's going to be behind his arm as well. So we draw a small line coming out and curve it round underneath. Then we do a small line going straight down, one going straight across, and then we're going to do an extra line that comes out from this point. It's going to tuck just underneath this flap, but then it's going to poke out again underneath like that, and it makes it look like his pocket's sticking out a little bit. Okay, then we're going to add the bottom of his coat here. He's got his I don't know what they're called, they're like cuffs on the coat, the sort of stretchy bits on the inside of children's coats mostly that have little lines. So you just draw a little curve on the bottom, add little lines in there, and then we can add his hand on the bottom. Okay, and we can add a couple of lines in just like that, and that's where his elbow is. Okay, now we're going to do the other side. Now you might think he looks a little bit weird, like this is all really far down. That's because he's sort of facing that way, well, his body's facing that way a little bit. So we're going to come from this side, do a teeny line, a long line out, but it's going to curve straight out from here. I'm going to use the curve of my hand to help me do this side. So curve out like this, and we're going to go about the same distance as the bottom of his coat over this side. Okay, now he's got that red line in on this side as well, so we can add a second line, just like this. And then we're going to curve his coat just slightly up on this side. Okay, and we're going to add another line coming down from here. It's going to curve out a tiny bit and then come down and then stop just above here. Okay, and the reason we're going to do that is because we're going to add a second pocket, his other pocket here. So his other pocket, we're going to add that top flap, so we're going to do a line coming out, a line, just a small line coming down, another line coming out, and then match them up. Okay, then we're going to draw from this corner a line coming down. We're going to curve and go past the edge of this. Okay, and then just curve it up and tuck it in under that flap. And then we just need to add, like we've done here, we need to add another line coming down. That gives that pocket that extra edge. We can add a button on the top as well. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is finish my coat joinder up there. Okay, Charlie's got an arm that's going to be waving here as well, so we're going to add that in. We're not going to worry about straight arms with him coming out, because he's not drawn that way in the book. He's got a sort of really massive C-shaped arm coming out here, so we can add that in. So if we go from where this shoulder is, we go straight across, that's where we're going to start coming out. We're only going to come out a short way, and then we're going to turn and head up towards his head and stop just before we get to in line with his shoulder. Okay, we're going to curve over the top like that, and then we're going to have a nice big curve down under his arm here, like that. So it's a backwards J shape, isn't it? Almost like a bubble writing L shape. Okay, we're going to add the same cuff that he's got on this arm over here. Add those little lines in too. And we're going to add some toggles on his coat. So he's got toggles on this side of his coat, and then he's got loops on this side of his coat. So we're going to draw 4 toggles, and the way we can do that is we can mark our positions of our start by doing little rectangles. 1, 2, try and space them out almost evenly, it hasn't got to be perfect. 4. We're going to do the string that comes out from each of them. 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to add the toggle-y shapes on the end, just long rectangle shapes. They're the toggles. Okay, now we can add on this side, we can add the loops that match those toggles, so they don't have any starting line, they just come from the line in here. So you can do a loop like this, and then a smaller loop inside it, and it gives it like a 3D shape. We can do that to match each side, so a loop and then a smaller loop inside it, loop, smaller loop inside, loop, and a smaller loop inside. Okay, I'm going to go over all these lines in pen after anyway, like we normally do, and then we can colour it in as well afterwards. Okay, so let's add his hands in. So hands are a little bit tricky to do, but his hands are cartoon hands, so we haven't got to worry about it too much. Okay, what we can do is we can just add a small curve coming out like this, and that is the edge of his thumb. He's going to be waving to us. Then we're going to add another line coming in just like that, so he's got a pointy thumb sticking out. And then we're going to add 4 sausage shapes and come in like that. And that's it, he's got sausage fingers. And then for the tiny little bit of detail, you just add a little line going across from his thumb, just underneath his fingers, and it makes it look like he's waving. Now this hand's waving, so we can see the palm. This hand, he's not waving, so we won't see the palm, it's going to be coming straight down. So we do the same move with the thumb, we come out a little bit, and we do the thumb just coming out. We can curve it up, and then we could add his fingers curving just slightly in, like that. And he's got a sort of long, skinny hand on this side. Alright, so let's add the bottom of his jumper here. So I'm going to come down just a little line like this, and then we're going to go straight across and go into his coat under this side, like that. And that is the bottom of his, what's actually the t-shirt that sticks out from under his jumper. And we'll do a line just above that that does the same thing. So we'll make a small rectangle, and then we're going to add a line going like that just across that top there. Okay, and that's actually the bottom of his jumper. So at the bottom of his jumper he's got this up and down wavy pattern that goes up and down on the bottom of his jumper like that. Okay, and his jumper's got some chevrons in it. We can sketch those very lightly, just little arrows going up and down really. One there, two here, three there. Okay, and then we can make them go up underneath there. Okay, and when you colour it in, those bits are very, very pale blue, and these bits are a slightly darker blue. They're still light blue, but a slightly darker blue. Now we're missing something on this. Obviously we're missing his legs, but we're missing something on his coat. He has a hooded jacket, so we're going to add that on. The way we do our hooded jacket is we go to his neck, we do a straight line coming out here. Okay, it does go quite far like that. Okay, then we're going to curve around like this. Going to add a little hook on the bottom, and then curve it in like this. Now he's got a fluffy hood, so we can add some lines of fluff like that coming down. That's his fluffy hood. Now, got his trousers too. These are fairly easy too. So straight line down, and then a straight line down like this. Join them up with a rectangle on the bottom, and he's got lines. I think he's got cord trousers on, so they look like cord trousers anyway. And then we're going to do a second one here, but this one's going to finish a bit higher. Okay, so it's going to come straight down again and finish just a bit higher. And we're going to do another one of these rectangles at the bottom, but it's going to be arched up like that. Okay, and we do some straight lines down, and then we can add his shoe in, so his shoe curves out and around and then back in. Looks a bit like a sock at the minute, but then we add 3 laces on, a hook at the back, a line around the front, and then underneath a little sole, just like that. And then this shoe is the same, but he's got a bit of his sock showing, so he's got a skinny leg coming down like this, with a yellow sock with lines on it, which you can colour in after. Then you have to do the top of his shoe this time, so we go around like that, small line out like that, and then we go straight down and it tucks behind this shoe because this leg's further back. We add, on this side we add a line coming down, and we're going to curve this way, just like that, and then we're going to match that same sort of idea of curving it round and in, adding the sole on the bottom, the toe cap, and then he's got more laces on this side because these laces are tucked under here so you can see more of them. If you add tiny dots on the end of the laces, makes it look like the eyelets that shoes go into. And then we can add a small blob on the front like that, and that's his the tongue of his shoe. And that is how you draw Charlie. So I'm going to go over it with a pen, I'm going to colour it in, and then I'll come back and show you what we've done. So there we have him, that's Charlie. And you know, the story is obviously Charlie turns into a chicken, so as long as you know how to draw Charlie, it's quite easy to make him turn into a chicken or a spider or whatever you want really. As long as you know how to do his face, you can just incorporate that. So I've done a picture here of Charlie turning into a chicken. There he is. So he's still got top half's pretty much the same. Obviously he's got a downturned mouth now, and his eyes have got these like the bottom of his eyelids are coming up because he's, you know, turning into a chicken. And instead of his legs, he's just got chicken legs. So it's still the same boy, same coat and everything. Maybe a different colour because I use a different pen, but it's still the same thing, and it's Charlie turning into a chicken. And really, anybody can do this. I had a practice with this with my daughter who is in reception, and this was her effort, and I think she's done a fantastic job. I'd like to see your efforts. So obviously, you don't have to do a chicken. You could just draw Charlie as he is. You could draw him as a frog if you fancy drawing him as a frog. You could try doing him as a spider, and you might notice on the spider he's got some, it's really hard to see actually, but he's got some small blue lines, blue wiggly lines that match his jumper, and sometimes some of his clothes you'll see reflected in when he's an animal, i.e. his orange chicken legs are the same as his orange trousers. So there you go. Have fun with that. Let me see your pictures, and I'll see you next time.